Hey, welcome back. Just another day on the Ferrari 360 Challenge car. So what we're going to do today is we're going to drain the coolant. We're going to get this up in the air. I've already moved the forward tray. I'll show you that here in a second. And then we're going to get the coolant drained from the front here. And then once it's drained from the front, we'll drain it back towards the engine. We'll remove a couple of tubes back there just in front of the motor. So let's get started. So we have it raised in the air now. Like I said, I've taken this access panel off to get it to the radiators here and over here. Now there's little spigots on each one of these. They're very fragile, so you can see here. Let me put that light like that. You're going to remove this one here. The same on the driver's side right here. So these are just plastic. So when you remove them, be careful and then installing them. And they do have a little O-ring on there, so make sure that it's there when you remove it so you don't lose it. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and take these out. We're going to put a little pan underneath here. And you're not going to get much out of here. Most of it's going to come out towards the motor. But it does drain, up here sufficiently, but you're going to get more out from behind. So let's get started on that. I'll get a pan and we'll remove these. Same on the regular 360, no difference. Now you can see this has cooling ducts here for the brakes. You don't normally see this on a regular street car. And it's got a piece of carbon fiber here. Also, this car has no heat. So underneath here, it's blocked off. You can see this little tube here. This will go to your heater core. So this doesn't have one. So it's not used. So that's what that is. And then here's your jacks. Here. So when they're racing, they use these here. So like I said, we're going to get this started. So you can see we've got the plug removed. Coolant's draining. There is our plug here. I can see the O-ring on there. Like I said, they may fall off, so make sure that that's still there when you go to install this. So we'll go ahead and open the other side up now too. All right, that plug is removed. Grab my light here. Now, you can see that when you remove both of them at the same time, it's kind of going to draw air from the other side. So we'll let this drain here for a few minutes. And as you can see here, our plug, it's got the O-ring on it. So that's good. Like I said, be gentle with those. They're just plastic. So when you're going to reinstall them, don't over torque them. Just snug them up, hand tight. All right, so it looks like it's done draining on both sides here. So we're going to go ahead and reinstall those two plugs. Like I said, be gentle with them. Just hand tight. I mean, make sure they're snug enough that they're not going to fall out or anything. But don't go too crazy with them because you'll break them. So we're going to go ahead and get those installed. So we've had our plugs reinstalled. This is the driver's side. There's the passenger side. Like I said, they're just snugged up. Don't go too crazy tight with them. So anyway, now we're going to move back towards the motor here. And we're going to take these lines off right here. So we're going to take these two off and then drain it from here. and that should drain the rest of the coolant system. Alright, so we have our clamps loose, as you can see here. So now we're going to take this tool here and gently break the seal, okay? So we're going to run this up and down like this, okay? It's hard to do with one hand. And then do the same thing back here. And then the hose should be somewhat loose and we move it around. All right, to drain it. As you can see here, we've got the hoses broke loose now. It's almost finished draining. We're gonna let it sit here for a few minutes. And then we will reinstall all this back together here once it gets done. And then we'll start the servicing process. So we're going to let this sit for a few minutes. All right, so what I'm doing here is I got this leak test tool here. You pressurize the system. But what I'm doing now is I've got the hoses still off down on the bottom. And I'm just pumping air in the system and trying to get a little extra fluid out. You may or may not get some fluid. At least I'm trying it. I did see a little bit trickle out, but you're not going to get that much. You're still going to have fluid in the block. I always get that question, how'd you get all the fluid on the block? Well, you're not. Unless you got some other way of doing it. But there's still going to be fluid in the block. So I really wouldn't worry about it, but get as much out as you can. It's, it's a thing that you're not going to be able to do because there's this crevices in there, little passages that you're not going to be able to get the fluid out. So anyway, I'm going to pressurize this or try to pump air through there a little bit and then put the hoses back on, and then we're going to start to service this. So here's our hoses. Like I said, they're still disconnected, and you can see the amount of fluid that we got out of this when we pressurized the tank up there. Not much. So it's really not worth doing it. I mean, if you want to, I guess you can, but that amount of fluid is not going to make that big of a difference. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to hook these hoses all back up and then secure them and then get this thing serviced. We have our hose clamps and everything installed and secure. Just one note, when you're doing this, make sure the clamps aren't resting against the pipes. That'll make a hole. So make sure you have clearance everywhere that's not resting against any of these lines or anything, these clamps. Also, take note, this pipe here, make sure the corner's not hitting this box. That'll make another hole. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this kind of stuff. Just watch this stuff is clear and not rubbing on anything. So we're done here. We're going to lower it back down and start servicing it. Like I said, we didn't get much fluid out of it when we pressurized it. So I don't know if it was really worth it or not. But anyway, we're moving on. So we're getting ready to service this. We've got our tool here to pull a vacuum on the system. I did pull a little bit already. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this until it stabilizes, which is going to be like 25-ish inches of mercury. Somewhere in there it's going to stall out. So once it gets to that point, we'll shut the valve and we'll let it sit for a few minutes. We'll check the integrity of the system, make sure there's no leaks for a few minutes. And then once we figure that there's no leaks, then we'll start drawing the fluid into it. If you got any leaks, check these areas here. That may be your leak, most likely. If it's not, you need to investigate. I've used this tool many times, so I've got other videos using this tool on other Ferraris and that. It works great. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour clean fluid into this bucket here, and then we're going to submerge this into the fluid. So when you're doing this, you don't want that to come out of the fluid because you'll introduce air into the system. So if that happens, shut that valve off real quick and you're going to have to start the process over again. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the rest of the vacuum on this, let it sit for a few minutes, and then see what happens. and then we'll start servicing it. So let me go ahead and open this valve. It's going to be kind of loud. As you can see, it's drawing a vacuum right now. Like I said, it's going to settle around 25, give or take. And then once you shut that valve, the needle may bump a little bit, or it drop initially, and then it should stabilize. If it doesn't stabilize, you've got to wait. Alright, so we're about 25 right now. Sorry about the air compressor, but it's necessary to pull the vacuum. So you can see we're at about 25. Make sure this valve in the back is closed, and we're going to shut this one, and you'll see the needle bump. So we can sit there. Depends on what view I look. Make sure you don't have a parallax. Make sure you're straight on. So we're going to let that stabilize here for about 5 minutes or so. Make sure it doesn't drop excessively. It should, in theory, not drop at all. But depends. If you got a leak around here, it may drop. But just make sure it's not dropping quickly. Like I said, it's probably been 10-15 seconds now. And it's really been pretty solid. So I'm going to let this sit for, like I said, 5 minutes. And we'll see what happens. We're going to use Xerix, made by Valvoline G48. We've been using this in a few other Ferraris. Check your applications. It may or may not say it's applicable. It depends on what different sources you use. You use the Valvoline site. They want you to use the old green, traditional. But we've been using this G48 for a while. It's a blue color. We've got the new fluid in the bucket there. The old was blue also, so it must have been using, whoever did the service on this last was using the same. You can see it's dirty over here. It's kind of a greenish color because of the age, but when you pour it out, it's blue. So, like I said, it's old. It kind of looks like a green, but it's not. It's the blue color. So anyway, we're going to go ahead. And we've been letting this sit here for a few minutes, and you can see that it's still pretty solid. So I'm pretty confident our system is pretty tight. As you can see, it's still in the 25. Like I said, these valves are closed. So the only thing, I didn't disconnect this because I didn't want to disturb the seal here. So that's why that's connected. It's not pressurizing. If you heard if it was pressurizing still, you'd hear it coming through here. So that's the only reason the hose is still connected. So when we go to service this, we're going to open this valve only, and it's going to draw the fluid in. And then as the fluid draws, obviously you're going to see the pressure decrease, or the vacuum, it's not pressure, vacuum decrease on the system. So we'll get started here in a second. I'm pretty confident with the leak check now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that valve, but like I said, make sure that the end of your tube here is submerged the whole time. So you don't want to get any air in it. So I'm going to keep this down in the bottom, and I'm going to crack this valve now, and then get this thing going. Clamp on there so it keeps the hose down in the bucket. Like I said, once it starts getting to the bottom, I might have to tilt it. We have 3 gallons of fluid in it. It's going to vary per car. So 3 gallons usually does it. But we're going to go ahead and crack this valve now. Okay, so it's drawing the fluid in. Like I said, the pressure is decreasing. You can see the fluid dropping in the bucket. Now this will fill it. It'll probably be at the top here when it's complete. You shouldn't have any air gaps in the system. It'll actually be a little over serviced, so you'll have to put the cap on and run it, and it should balance itself out. It'll burp what it doesn't need. So you can see, like I said, the pressure is decreasing, or the vacuum is decreasing. Yep, see, I got a little air in it. That's not good, but it wasn't long enough to do anything. So we're going to let it continue on, and I'm going to concentrate on this. So you can see that the vacuum is 0 now. It should be done drawing fluid in. We are cutting it close here. As you can see, we just had a little bit left. So now we can disconnect everything and see where our fluid stands, but it should be right at the base of the neck. So now we got our tool off. You can see the fluid is right here. Like I said, it's over service right now, but if I put the cap on, run it for a while, get it nice and hot, it will burp that extra fluid onto the ground, and it should stabilize. And once it burps and you run it for a while, it should be about here when it finishes up being, this is the proper level, probably down in here, the base of this tube here, or just below it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and stick the cap back on, and then we're going to let this thing run, get it nice and hot. We'll do a couple things then. We'll heat this up, we'll check the oil again, we'll add as needed, and then we'll check the temperature on our manifolds. We'll compare left and right, make sure they're close to the same now. If you saw our video earlier on the manifold, there was a big heat difference between the left and the right. Now that we have both sides wrapped, they should be similar. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get this thing running here in a few minutes. When this thing is hot, do not remove this cap, okay? It will bubble over, and then you'll have a mess. You'll spray you, it'll burn you. So keep this cap nice and tight, all right? So when we go to leak check all this stuff, just be aware of that. Like I said, we're going to check the oil quantity, though, once it gets up to operating temperature. It should smoke a little bit more. Like I said, it still has a lot of oils and stuff on the assembly of the exhaust. So that's still going to be burning off. But this really should complete the service on the coolant. So we'll let it cool down, then we'll check it later. But like I said, we had a little bit left in a bucket. 3 gallons of that Xerox G48. So next thing we're going to do, I say, get this thing started. That I wanted to make. So this car doesn't have heat. So on your normal car, what you would do is you would start it up. While you're running the system, you would turn your blower motor to full high, all the way hot as it would go. But since this car doesn't have heat, we're not doing that. That's not necessary. So anyway, I thought I'd just throw that little tidbit in there, and we're going to move on. Before we do our leak checks and everything in the back, I'm going to go ahead. I'm confident these aren't going to leak, so I'm going to go ahead and put this tray back on, and this will be complete. And then once I get this tray on the front here, then we'll start the car and do our leak checks in the back and everything, and check our quantities. So we have the front under tray all secure now. It's all in place. Don't forget your other panel here where they two connect. This tucks underneath this one. All right, so we're good here. We're going to go ahead and lower the car back down, and then get it started, do a few leak checks, and check out a few other things. All right, got it outside, letting it idle for a little bit. Got all the oil and stuff burning off, the exhaust. Underneath. Our look like they're good. You don't want to open this up. If it's got too much in it, it'll burp it out onto the ground. The only thing we're going to check now is we're going to let this stuff burn off a little bit more. We're going to recheck our oil and add a little bit as needed. A few minutes. You can see the smoke coming off the exhaust is getting less and less. You still have a little bit there. I just checked the oil. We're at the very tip, so we need to add a little bit of oil yet. Maybe a quart, maybe two. I'm not checking the water yet. Like I said, we'll check that when it's cold. So our water temp is 65 Celsius, oil temp is 34 Celsius. I'll have to convert that. Water temp's 149 Fahrenheit. Battery voltage is 13, which is good. Oil temp, like I said, it's colder than that, than the water temp. So we're all good there. I added another quart of oil, so we're good on the oil right now. I'm going to close this up, maybe take it down the driveway and back real quick. All right, a little test drive down the driveway in that. So we're gonna get this thing back inside and get it ready to do the transmission and the F1.